Hey, everybody. What's up?
Hey, Jill.
Hi, Caleb.
How are you today?
I am fantastic.
Yeah?
You want to know why?
Why?
Because we are going to be talking about something that is kind of current in the news, in the media today. So
All right.
we're going to be talking about scholarships.
Yeah.
Specifically, athletic
I was gonna
scholarships.
say.
And how do they work?
Yeah. I think we'll talk about some of the general scholarship piece too, but not in great detail. I was talking with somebody recently and they brought up this question of like, how does this all go together and how do I think about it in this certain way? And so hopefully we can kind of clarify and simplify things for some families out there.
Yes, I love it. Well,
Yay.
let's dig in.
All right.
Before we do, actually,
Yes.
I wanted to say tomorrow is Earth Day.
Tomorrow is.
Yes, the 22nd, April 22nd.
Okay.
And it's the 50th anniversary
Wow.
of Earth Day.
Who knew?
Yeah.
You knew.
I knew. What are your plans?
You're the brains of the operation.
Do you have anything that you
true.
could do?
Anything
Earth
that
Day?
I can do.
Or that you're planning
I don't
on
know
doing?
what
Or
tomorrow.
a resolution, maybe?
I haven't thought about the rest of today. Oh my gosh. And you're just springing this on me.
Yeah.
I'm going to think on it though.
Okay.
Do you have any plans?
One thing that I do like to do with my kids is just pick up around our house, like on the outside of our house. Since
Sure.
there's some new builds in the area, there's a lot of garbage that kind of just gets left on the ground. And, you know, with the wind, it gets picked up. So it gets caught in the weeds and whatnot. So I just like to get a big bag, get the kids out there. Even the neighborhood kids sometimes like to join
Drag
in.
them.
Yes.
I like it.
And then just clean up around us.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
that's what we like to do. We might plant a tree this weekend. We do want to plant a couple
fun.
trees, so that would be good.
I've done that for Arbor Day at
Yeah.
one point or another, but not for Earth Day.
Arbor Day, is that in the spring
That
or when is that?
Arbor Day, I think, is in the fall.
In the fall. Okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah. We'll have to verify that, folks.
Whenever Arbor Day is, I'm going to the Arboretum in Overland Park because it is
Yes.
gorgeous.
It is. I haven't been there for years, actually.
It's worth the trip.
Yeah, I'll have to go back. Don't
Little
they do a big
endorsement.
thing for Christmas?
Oh yeah, they what do they even call it? I don't know, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
They have candles. There are thousands of candles lining the walkway through the forest.
Yeah.
And you kind of go through and you see all these cool things.
Yeah.
And then they have local hot cocoa and local hot cider. And they have hay rides and
Fun.
Yeah, it's cool.
A nice little experience.
True.
So yeah, you think about that. Maybe you want to start a compost pile. I don't know.
Maybe.
Keep it outside,
Maybe.
though.
Oh, that's the key.
That's the key. That's the key. That
No
would be
wonder
pretty
Molly's been
intense.
angry with me.
Right. Right.
I'm just piling it in our bedroom right now.
No. That's what that smell is. Oh, funny. Anyway, if you are listening and you'd like to do something great for Earth Day, let us know what you are doing on
comment.
our social media.
Shoot us a message.
Yeah, shoot us a message, and maybe next year we will do something similar or come together and do something really great.
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
On to scholarships.
On to scholarships, the meat and potatoes.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there are going to be a few things that I want to discuss throughout this conversation, right?
Great.
There are some kind of big frameworks that I want to touch on, and then we're going to get into some of the details and kind of start talking through the differences between the different divisions and how they look at things and
Yeah.
what that scholarship money kind of looks like and maybe how we can kind of leverage some of those awards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
But the very first thing is I want families to make sure that they're paying attention to the net price, right? So some schools may give a giant athletic scholarship compared to some other school. But again, keep in mind, maybe you're comparing a private school to a public school and
Yeah.
maybe their actual cost per year is about the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So don't get freaked out by sticker price of a college. They may say that they're $60,000 a year, which is a ton of money.
It is.
But if their average award is $25,000, now maybe they're more in line with even a public school that you're considering
Right.
along the way.
Yeah, good advice.
So be aware of that net price per year.
Okay.
Now, the other messy thing, and I find this very, very frustrating, is that more and more schools are going to the language of a 4-year scholarship, right? And they bundle it all together, and it looks like this humongous giant number, and it makes it super attractive. Make sure you divide by 4.
Right.
Right.
You're getting a $16,000 scholarship.
That
which
is
sounds-
awesome.
Yes. Sounds
And
really
over
great.
4 years, that's a lot of money.
It is. $4,000 per year. Per year.
Exactly.
Which does help. For sure helps.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be $16,000 per year.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of confusion in just the language of how that goes forth. Like, I think a lot of families just don't understand exactly what that means, or they don't look at the little fine print after the big number, because clearly that's what the colleges want us to focus on, is that beautiful giant number.
Yes.
But again, make sure that you are asking the right questions and making sure that you're identifying whether this is a 4-year scholarship or a 1-year scholarship, so that you can make really good decisions. So, for instance, like even locally here, KU, even some of their academic scholarships, they talk in terms of like it's a 4-year award.
Yep.
It's $4,000 if you have a certain GPA and a certain ACT. Oh, well, that's $1,000 a year, which is still good, right?
Yep.
Who's going to turn away free money?
Right.
I wouldn't.
Not me.
And so there's still value there, but just make sure that you know exactly what you're considering.
Yep. And not all of them are renewable year after year.
True.
I mean, some of them could be,
some maybe.
$4,000 for 1 year.
Right. And exactly. So be aware of that too. I think most schools, most organizations have kind of tried to move away from the only freshman year scholarship, primarily just because they realized that retention dropped significantly because of it.
Yep.
You can afford it the first year, but then all of a sudden you can't, and now you're kind of out all that time and money. It's
and
really,
I'm sure the student wants
really
to
tough.
Continue.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of students want to go to the same school for 4 years. Some don't.
Right.
But if you want to keep your students at a certain college.
Right. Well, and even think about it from this perspective, even if you transfer to a less expensive school at that point, well, maybe not all your credits transferred. So now instead of graduating in 4 years, now it's 4.5 or 5 years, or even more money.
Even more money. Oh, boy.
Oh. It's that balance of looking for the long term and also making sure that you identify, can I afford it each year?
Yes, absolutely.
Each individual year.
Yep.
So, all right.
Perfect.
Well, thanks for letting me walk through some of that.
I was going to say, thanks for bringing that up.
So how does this kind of play into college athletics?
Yeah.
Like, how does that play?
Right.
And I think that's kind of what we want to address to some degree. We're in the midst of this global pandemic called COVID, and things are just different for some of the current classes. Class of 2021, in fact, NCAA and the NAIA. So just for those of you who aren't aware, the NCAA is primarily made up of 3 divisions.
Yes.
Division 1, which many of us think about. We think of the KU Jayhawks or the Wildcats of Kansas State or the Tigers of Mizzou. We think of those big schools, the ones that we typically see on TV, playing for national championships that everybody's kind of paying attention to particularly for like March Madness and things like that, right? So those are Division 1 schools. They are going to award the most money, and it's the most competitive, most selective.
Okay.
All right. Division 2, also very competitive, less scholarship money to award.
And what kind of schools are we looking at there?
So that could be a lot of different schools. Some of them are going to be private. Some could be like places locally, like William Jewell or St. Mary.
Yep.
But it could also be public schools too. So I think of like Pitt State, or I think of Emporia State or Northwest Missouri State or things like that.
Ottawa University?
Ottawa is...
You know
what? Ottawa has always been NAIA, which we'll get to in a second.
Okay, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Apologies.
So generally, they're a little bit smaller state schools, or sometimes larger private schools, or just private schools that just, again, maybe they align more with those Division 2 schools. Okay. So Division 2 schools, still competitive. Generally, again, you're still going to be focused a lot of time and energy in that athletic world once you're in college. And just like you would Division 1, there's just maybe not quite as much fanfare. Most of the time, the campuses can still be pretty intense and still engaged with athletics, and it's a little bit more supportive, and oftentimes they're smaller universities. So maybe it's you actually know the athletes
that's fun too,
on the court or on the field, and you get to know them a little bit. So there's also an interesting aspect there.
And
then you have Division 3. Division 3 is very different than Division 1 and 2 in that they actually can't award athletic scholarships.
Really?
And we'll talk about how that kind of works and what that actually looks like here in a moment. But those tend to be a little bit more academic focused schools, generally speaking.
Right, makes sense.
A lot of them are smaller private schools, or you start looking at some schools like Wash U in St. Louis, right? Or University of Chicago, very academically minded universities. And they kind of want their students to be focused on that piece, even though they still have football and they still have lacrosse and they still have whatever.
Yeah, it's just not super competitive.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Interesting.
So no awards there. And then you have NAIA.
Yes.
And then junior colleges and things like that.
Yes.
Right. NAIA is the lesser known of athletic conference or division compared to NCAA. But a lot of NAIA schools are found here in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So a lot of the schools, the small private schools that you've seen, a lot of them are going to be NAIA. William Jewell, before they went Division II, was an AIA.
Yeah.
You have schools like Mid-America and Baker and Benedictine and Avila. Those are all NAIA schools, Park and Parkville. So a lot of those local ones are that way.
And they would be super competitive too.
For sure.
I mean, we've seen it.
Oh,
I've been to several
great
games.
athletes show up at NAIA schools.
Yep.
It just sometimes maybe they're a little bit undersized, especially for Division I. But maybe the student wants to focus on academics as well, or they want a smaller environment, or they want maybe a faith-based institution. Things like that come into play when we start looking at more NAIA schools.
Yeah. Yep. And so it just seems like there's a college for everyone, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many options out there if you want to play sports.
Yeah. And it can be, it doesn't matter the level, it can be a great opportunity to build some of that camaraderie that students have gained during their high school years.
Yeah.
At the college level too, right? You get to know your peers really, really well. You build that team aspect.
Yep.
And you still get to do something you really enjoy.
Super. And get a scholarship for it.
Right. Exactly.
Bonus.
That is a win.
Yeah.
So I mentioned it earlier. During COVID, things have shifted a little bit. So, for instance, NCAA historically has always required a certain GPA and a certain ACT score in order to be eligible to play. Now, sometimes you see like red shirt athletes.
Yep.
Sometimes those red shirts are, sometimes it's going to be an academic red shirt. Sometimes it's going to be an injury red shirt. But sometimes those freshman red shirts are people who may not have quite gotten either the GPA or their ACT quite where they needed it to, and they can't compete that first year, but then they can the second because their GPA in college is just fine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does that make sense? So that's something to be aware of. For the class of 2021, I don't think NCAA has actually released the information for the class of 2022 yet, but for 2021, for NCAA Division I, a student just had to have a minimum of a 2.3 GPA.
Okay, that's doable.
No ACT.
No ACT. So
no
just
ACT.
a 2.3 and no GPA.
And this goes back, this data goes back to 2009, but do you know what the average GPA was in the U.S. in 2009?
In 2009? Higher or lower? Than 2.3.
What do you think? I mean, we think of C average, right? It's supposed to be the middle.
Yeah.
That would be a 2.0.
I would like to say, well, probably in 2009, maybe lower, but I feel like now it's much higher.
It was around a 3.0.
A 3.0?
In 2009.
Yeah.
And it's even higher now.
Right.
That grade inflation is very real.
Yes.
And so we need to be aware of that. So at 2.3, many student athletes are going to be able to reach that minimum.
Yes. Yeah.
And then for Division II and Division III, their requirements are a 2.2 GPA.
Yeah.
So not a huge difference there. Usually the ACT difference is a bit more, and usually the GPA is even shifted a little bit more than just a tenth of a point.
Yeah.
But that's something to be aware of. And then the NAIA actually just went to a minimum of 2.0 GPA.
Oh, man.
But then you have to maintain a 2.0 or higher in college in order to stay eligible.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that's very doable.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very doable.
Yeah. I mean, you're there to study, right?
Right. Well, some.
In theory.
In theory. Some students, some not.
So those are some of the parameters and the expectations. Again, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen for 2022. I'm sure there are going to be some shifts and changes in that piece. But again, most students are going to be eligible.
Yeah.
Okay,
awesome.
So that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we can actually get to that scholarship piece.
Yes.
Can you touch on the piece that's, we think of athletic scholarships and we immediately think the award straight from
football, all the big ones,
yeah,
right?
for sure. But even specifically from the university, right?
Right.
That's like almost ubiquitous.
Yeah.
So tell us about this other piece.
So there's like so many scholarships for so many different sports, right?
Sure.
So let's get into some of the ones that are a little bit unusual.
And awarded not by the university.
Not awarded
That's the
by,
key,
yes,
right?
Correct. So you might have to look for them, but they're definitely out here. So there's one for professional bowlers.
Yeah, the PBA.
Right? Like,
they award a scholarship each year.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
$1,000.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
for sure.
I
Why not?
still need the things on the side, so it's not for me, but
Right.
the gutters. What are they? The gutter check things.
You need the oh yeah, what are those called? Bumpers?
Yeah, I
what they call
definitely
them?
need the bumpers. I'm really bad.
No
at it.
shame.
I mean, I can get strikes every once in a while when I'm really concentrating.
We know you can.
Anyway,
And then like fencing,
fencing.
right? Some outside scholarships for
that's fun,
fencing.
yeah.
That's pretty neat.
This is a really interesting one. There's the Lee E. Shower Memorial Scholarship from the YMCA, provided by the YMCA. Guess what sport?
Basketball?
Any sport.
Really?
You just have to apply.
Interesting.
$12,000 scholarship.
Cool.
You just apply.
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
And any student athlete's eligible.
Correct.
Wow. Fun.
It's amazing. Now, I do believe that's $12,000 over the course of 4 years.
4 years.
Right?
Thank you. I was going to ask that.
Let's clarify that. Soccer by Massachusetts Youth Soccer Association.
Perfect.
Okay,
Who
I'll
knew?
take it. National Gymnastics Foundation for Gymnastics.
Cool.
That's cool. This is one that I thought was a little different, but really interesting. So the scholarship is NSHSS, Student Athlete Scholarship, given by the National Society of High School Scholars. Again, any sport, it's $2,000, $2,000 scholarship.
So how do you qualify?
You literally just write no more than 500 words about how you manage to balance sports and your life.
Oh,
That's it.
that seems pretty eligible for almost everybody.
Right. An essay.
That's great.
Less than 500 words.
Yeah. That's
It's
cool.
amazing. Yeah. You could
And
be doing-
$2,000
Yes.
for an essay.
Yes.
I love it.
I do too. Hockey,
Yeah.
golf, women's golf is really
Yeah,
big.
this is
I've
really
heard there's
cool.
lots of scholarships
So
there.
making sure you're looking for your state associations or
Yes.
professional sports teams, right? Like the hockey one you were just alluding to
Yeah.
was awarded by the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
Right?
Really
so
cool.
like check those out. They're going to have some different pieces in there and maybe you can get some cash that way.
Yeah. I mean, even if you pick up one or two, that would be amazing.
Right.
That's a little,
sure.
that's a little chunk
Yeah.
out of your big bill there.
I love that.
Me too.
So let's talk about the institutional scholarships for
Yes.
athletics, because I think that's probably the bigger picture and probably on average the bigger dollar amount, at least at most schools.
Yep.
Okay.
I agree.
So the basic formula for this, I'm not going to get into all of the details, but basically in Division I, each coach is given a certain number of full ride scholarships that they can award for their sport.
And it's kind of funny. I was looking at this earlier. Some of them are kind of random, like 12.7.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, there's that. What's 12.7 people? Like that's.
Well, they can't put a
wanna
dollar
round
amount,
up?
right? So they're just trying to like be sort of fair, right?
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
you're
It's
exactly right.
just so
It's such a weird process.
Yeah.
But like a 12.7 scholarships for the basketball teams, right? So Division I can give, let's say that the college costs $20,000.
Yep.
They can give 12.7 $20,000 scholarships. Well, they can't give 0.7.
Right.
Or they can spread that out over 18 players.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So whatever that looks like for them, that's going to be how they figure that out.
Right.
So the average scholarship for Division I athletes is in the $18,000 to $19,000 range as of 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Right. So
not bad.
I think that is something to kind of keep your eye on. And again, they award athletic scholarships make up a big chunk of scholarships for students, right?
Yep.
I mean, $4.2 billion. I almost said million because that would be a lot,
right?
Ish, but billions of dollars
with the B.
So again, make sure you're paying attention to those pieces when you sign a letter of intent as an athlete. Basically, that's when you've gotten the offer from the school, and this is where you're saying, "Hey, this is where I want to go." On there, it's going to state exactly what the scholarship is, and it should probably say per year,
right,
on it. Right.
Pay attention.
So how it's initially advertised is probably going to be in that 4-year range, right? So like, hey, we're going to give you $80,000 in athletic scholarship, except for that's over 4 years.
Right.
Right. In this particular case, we're talking about on the letter of intent that you're going to sign, it's going to be by year.
Yes.
Okay. So it'll say $20,000 on it.
And that's just academic. I mean, I'm sorry,
athletic.
That's just athletic. Yes, that's not academic.
Yeah. So some students may still qualify for need-based scholarship. They still may qualify for other pieces. That's definitely a good point. And I want to touch on that a little bit here in a second.
Okay, great.
NCAA Division II, again, smaller scholarship opportunities. Great. Again, still going to help fund your education, and you still get to have fun competing in the sport that you like. But the average awards are in the $6,500 to $8,000 range.
Yeah, not bad.
Still quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Right? And that's per year, not over 4 years. Because I hate talking in terms of 4 years.
Right.
And even if you get injured during a sport, there are oftentimes still ways in which you can still keep your scholarship. Not always, but sometimes.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
That's interesting. Because you're
do you
still
want
on
a
the
little
team.
personal story?
Oh boy, here we go. Walking down memory lane.
Oh shoot.
Let's hear it.
So this was way back in the day, but I went on baseball and football scholarships.
Nice.
And 3 weeks into my freshman football season, I tackled a guy, my shoulder popped.
Ooh.
And I ended up having 2 shoulder surgeries through college.
Sad.
So I never actually got to fully compete in either sport. Football, I ended up keeping my scholarship all 4 years because I still volunteered and helped with the team.
Oh,
and
nice.
I was actually one of the guys up at the top of the press box videotaping and stuff like that. It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I still loved, I knew the guys. I wanted to go support them, and I would have been sitting in the bleachers watching anyway. So
fantastic. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Baseball, on the other hand, I ended up foregoing after my sophomore year. Okay. Right. My freshman year, I kind of sat the bench and just kind of, after my surgery, just was around.
Yeah.
And my sophomore year, you know how people say that they run track? I say that I ran baseball.
Oh, no.
Because I would literally just show up. I would run my distance, my sprints, and then just watch practice. And I was kind of over it.
You got your cardio in.
I was kind of over it.
Yeah.
So I kind of moved on junior and senior year, and I did not receive that scholarship.
Okay.
So there may be ways in which the coach, the team, they will figure something out to help you keep your scholarship if you want or need it.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So NCAA Division II, they're awarding smaller awards, but keep in mind that, again, the coaches are still given a certain number. So instead of that 12.7 number, maybe they have 6 full scholarships that they can give for that particular sport.
Yeah.
And now that they're just splitting it over generally the same number of student athletes. Does that make sense?
Yep, it sure does.
And then we get to NCAA Division III. Now this is the oddball. Yeah, no scholarships. So this is one where you have to be careful. Most Division III will still kind of frame it as an athletic scholarship.
Okay.
Even though it's not. They'll call it an academic and athletic scholarship or something like that. They can't officially...
I was going to say, so it's not official.
No. So when you sign your letter of intent for Division III, there's not going to be any scholarship money on that particular piece. So you make sure you're paying attention to that kind of language. In order to keep that scholarship, you don't have to continue with the sport. You're continuing with the sport because you're passionate about it. You love it. You want to do it. Right. And again, you want that environment that's whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of cool. And there are a lot of Division III schools across the country. There are actually more Division III than there are Division I or Division II.
Okay.
So
Easier to find, huh?
yeah. And then you have NAIA. NAIA schools, again, a fairly smaller set, a little bit closer to the size of a number of Division II schools across the country. Mm-hmm. And their average awards are in right around the $8,000 mark.
Yeah, not bad.
So pretty comparable to Division II, maybe even a little bit more in some cases. Mm-hmm. Again, typically smaller schools, sometimes private, maybe more private than Division II. So maybe the net price is still a touch more.
A little bit more, yeah.
But it depends on the case. Mm-hmm. And again, oftentimes private schools do also award larger merit-based scholarships based upon your academics.
Yeah.
So if you're a high academic achieving student and an athlete, then you can really make you can have some dollars in your pocket there.
In that
for sure.
Overall total.
For sure. And then you have junior colleges or community colleges, and those are going to be even smaller because the cost of attendance is much, much lower.
Yes.
And then kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right?
Very interesting. I'm glad that we were able to break down that athletic division and kind of talk about each piece, because I do feel like that gets a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
So thank you for breaking that down.
I do what I can.
Yeah.
And then again, making sure that you're paying attention to some different pieces. If you are to be completely honest, if you're a high academic achieving student, especially at a Division II or NAIA school, you are going to be much more attractive to that coach.
Yeah.
Primarily because maybe they don't have to award you as much from the athletic scholarship side, because you're going to get a larger academic scholarship. Okay. Which allows them to save that money and allocate it elsewhere on other high achieving good athletes. So it can be a little bit of a game for the coaches. Yeah. And making sure that we're aware Tetris, of that game. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So even again, if you're a coach and you're comparing two athletes that are same caliber, you're probably going to lean toward the one that's going to get that extra $1,000 of academic scholarship because you don't have to give that extra $1,000. Nice. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does. So kind of be aware of that, know how that's going to be working out, and just know that there can be some flexibility. It never hurts to ask. I was just thinking, just ask questions, ask different, ask the coaches, ask your counselors, just ask the questions. And if it's out there, it's out there. Yeah. And now you know. Exactly. What's the worst they're going to say? No? No. No. Right. That's it. Then you move on. And then it's done. Exactly. So, great. Very good. Is there anything else you want to share with us, Caleb? No, I think that's kind of the basics. Yeah. I think it can get messy once you get into each individual school, or if you have a particular situation and there are 5 schools that you're looking at, each school may be looking at things a little bit differently. Sure. And then it can get messier, but hopefully these basics kind of get people moving in the right direction. Yep, I agree. Awesome. Well, if you have any further questions, feel free to call us or email us or getsmarterprep.com. We're all over the internet. We have all the social media handles, and we just appreciate you listening. Don't forget to subscribe so you can hear us every week, and we will see you next week. High school can be tough. We'll help you navigate some of the areas you need help with, including the college preparation process, by providing advice for families. Every student is different and has a unique path. That's why we created this podcast. Our innovative and intentional approach builds confidence in the individual student. Listen each week to find out how students can score better on college placement tests with techniques and methods that build confidence, beat test anxiety, and identify strengths within each student. You're listening to Simply Smarter with hosts Caleb and Jill. Check out our blog at getsmarterprep.com for more college prep related topics.